Okay, today we're going to create this little character or something like it, and we're going to use shapes in Photoshop. So let's make a new file. So let's use one of the web presets so we have a horizontal image. Okay, that will work. Now we've got a new canvas. We're going to use the pen tool, and you click and drag to make smooth curves. And when you want to make a corner, you click and drag, and then you option click or alt click on the point to make a corner. If you want to change the type of handles that you have, you click on the anchor to activate it. This is a broken handle here. If I want to change that, I can go to the convert anchor point and click and drag on the anchor point, and now I'll have regular handles that both move at the same time. You can go back to your anchor points and adjust them, as well as your handles. Okay, we're smoothing out this shape here around the ears, moving handles, and there's an anchor. Selecting an anchor, moving it, now moving handles, move an anchor, move handles. Okay, you can see how this works. Okay, we're looking good. So this is what a shape layer looks like, and we can name it. Okay, we're going to make the nose now. We'll use the ellipse tool, which is also one of the shapes. It's related to the path tool. They're all vectors. So we'll select the color. You can hit escape, by the way, to get out of one shape and into another. And I changed the color, so colors are changed at the top in the tool palette. And I hit Control T to go into transform. That's what gives me that little transform box or bounding box around his nose. And you have to hit check up at the top in order to get Photoshop to accept the changes that you're making. Okay, we've got to make some eyes here, so I'm hitting escape to get out of that, and then I'm changing the color up at the top to white. Now I'm drawing out the circles. By the way, I start drawing and then I hit the Alt or the Option key, depending on if you're in the Mac or the PC, and the Shift key, and the circle will center out. I'm going to do the same thing now with the eyes. So I hit escape to exit the shape, and then I changed the shape tool to black up at the top, and then I started dragging and I hit Option Shift to make the circles for the pupils. I'm back to the shape tool, and I'm making a rounded rectangle to get that mouth going. Now we're going to hit Control T, and then we're going to use a tool called Warp. First I'm rotating it. Now you have to watch out on the corners and look for that little curved double-headed arrow, and then you can rotate. Now we're going to right click and hit Warp, and then pull out the handles on the Warp tool to make a little smile. Okay, let's get going. What's next? This guy needs some eyebrows. There's another tool down here called the Line tool. You have to set the weight up at the top. Once you do, you can give him some eyebrows. What I like about this tool is you can set it to any angle real easy. Okay, you can move the little eyebrows around with the black arrow. There's a black and a white one if you hold down on that tool. Okay, you can also make groups by hitting the little folder on the bottom of the Layers palette. And I'm going to select a bunch of these groups by holding the Shift key down and dragging them into that folder, or as Adobe Photoshop likes to call it, group. I think of it as a folder. Okay, you can use the dropper tool to activate a color. And we need to make a body now. So let's get back to that pen tool. Make a little body for this guy. Click and drag, click and drag. And don't forget to close your shape. Okay, direct selection tool. That will select an individual anchor or a handle. Adjust that little body, get it the way you want. Let's make some legs. You notice up at the top my radius is set to 14 pixels. Control T, then right click warp. Grab those handles. Hit the check box to accept that edit. Control T, right click warp. Same deal here on this leg. Click on the checkbox. Okay. Going to move things around here with the move tool. The move tool is at the very top of the tool palette. V is the shortcut. I'm going to go back then to that shape tool, rounded rectangle. Get the arms in here. Control T, right click warp. This guy's looking good. Check to accept the edit. Control T again to rotate. Check again to accept the edit. Shift, Alt or Option, and drag to clone. And then we rotated. Let's save our guy before we get too far and give him a name. We're saving him as a Photoshop file. Okay, let's put all these parts into a new folder and name it body. And shift, click, and drag into the new folder. And what else do we need to do? We need to make a shadow under him. So let's pick the ellipse tool and click and drag out with the Option or Alt key held down to center it out. And then Control T to move it around. Okay, we're making some progress, so let's crop our image using the crop tool. You can move the anchor points and click to crop. And let's make a little background. We'll make a ground. Just a, super low saturation, light orange. Could be any color with the rectangle tool. Click and drag. And let's name that ground, just so we keep track of it. And we'll name shadow, shadow. And then below all this, let's make a sky. We're just using a light cyan. Okay. You're doing pretty good. We'll name that sky. Okay, let's make a new folder and we'll call that background. And then we'll click, shift, click the layers that we want to pull in. Okay, what's next? For our holiday bonus, let's add a Christmas hat. Little elf cap should do fine. So I'm going to move that layer up to the top. And let's go back to the pen tool and set a green for the elf hat. And find a green that we're comfortable with. By the way, you can always double click on a shape layer and change the color of it. And click and drag out a handle. Click an anchor and drag out to a handle. click and drag, click and drag, click and drag. The less anchors, the better. You can also go back and edit them. By the way, underneath the pen tool, there's also an add anchor point tool, so you can also go back in and add and also delete anchor points at any time. So it's very editable, but it does take some time getting used to. So I'm going to go back to the direct selection tool. That's a little white arrow there. And edit my points and my handles. I refer to the anchors as either anchor points or points, so don't be confused. The handles are different from the anchors. That's the main principle to understand. Sometimes the end of a handle can look like an anchor, and that's one of the reasons why sometimes working with the pen tool is a little tricky. I've got my swatches palette open here. I'm going to select a color for a little ball on the end of the hat. And so that works the same way, where you can Option Shift drag out from the center. And we're changing our color there. Up at the top, which is the tool palette for the shape tool. Okay, and you can go back in and adjust your color at any time. Okay, let's add the red part of the elf hat at the bottom. Same deal as usual. Going to go into that pen tool. If we don't have the right color, we can always change that easy enough. Because up at the top are the tool properties, and I could just select the swatch. Option or Alt click drag on a point to get a hard corner, or if you want a slightly rounded corner, just click off of it and drag again. I'm making a sharp corner. And I'm going to Option or Alt click and then click without dragging. Click, lift, move, click, lift, move, click, lift, move. And then here I want a little bit of a curve, so I'm dragging. And then Option or Alt clicking to get a curve, and then curve to close out. And then I'm rolling my middle mouse button to zoom out. And then I'll double click on the magnifying glass to look at this at 100%, and we are done.